Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 11:02 a.m. Alaska time. I want to go over the Northern Lights event, Geomagnetic Storm event. Supposedly we had it's a solar flare from the sun itself. There was one in 1859, if I'm not mistaken. It's called the quarantine event. You can look it up. There's lots of data of a solar storm that created the northern lights that could be seen all the way to Cuba. But I want to put this into motion and let it play out. You can go on the Aurora forecast and watch this stuff yourself, but this is how the northern lights work. There's also the southern auroras, Aurora Borealis, or however you say it. I'm not really good at pronouncing some words. But this is the rotation of our planet, the daylight side, the night side, and the northern lights events that's happening at each end of the poles. You can see both of them. You can look at the forecast of both sides. I just want y'all to see how everything works. It's supposedly from a solar storm from the sun, but that's still in question. Normally that would knock down satellites. I have not heard any information on satellites being knocked down since there are so many in outer space, but they can create these northern lights with their H.A.A.R.P system, which also these satellite systems has these H.A.A.R.P devices on board them as well, in my personal opinion. Stand by, I want to show you both information. This is satellites orbiting our planet. Orbits would not work on a flat planet because they are literally falling around and round and round. These are live satellites. This is what is running my internet this moment. We have Starlink. This is just what's in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean at this moment. There is almost 6,300 total. They released a bunch more here. You can see that's inactive. Massive computer run network. You can see the new trains. These are lower in altitude. They're usually about 350. Come on now. There we go. Let's see, height 302 kilometers. When the ones that are in altitude of working altitude are usually 550. Everything's really slow today. My computer's full. I gotta really get rid of some stuff. That's a train. There we go. 558 kilometers. 558 kilometers. But these new ones are the trains you see. There's 3 trains. That's the satellite system that's brand new. Soon to be 42,000 satellites. They just now have 5,000 working ones, almost a little over 6,000 it says. But here is the on-ground H.A.A.R.P locations. This is the one in Lima, Peru. It is truly a massive system compared to the one in Alaska that they speak of. This is the maps. I just want to see all the locations. This is just a handful of locations. Antarctica is also covered in them. But it's just a handful of locations, and I have visited every one of these. They're all real. It's at a military base, air base. They're all real. I've Googled every one of them. Here, I want to show you them talking about H.A.A.R.P.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of H.A.A.R.P. in the past. We took over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the H.A.A.R.P. was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere, be able to actually control it. But that work has been completed. The Air Force has maintained the site for other government agencies to use for several years now. And with DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site. We have put out a call for other agencies that had interest in managing the site or taking it over, and including going out to academia.
International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Programs are impacting microclimates needed for our crops to survive and needed for pollination. The other issue is that a lot of times we're talking about mitigation for climate change. It's rather an undefined term at this period of time. And so what happens is that many times we're talking about artificially putting chemicals like sulfur or particulates into the atmosphere in what they call geoengineering schemes to reduce, supposedly, global warming. And if you take and you put up into our skies chemicals to reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the earth, you are going to begin to reduce crop production. Without the process of photosynthesis, whereby plants from direct sunlight gain the energy to grow, to produce crops, we are going to find ourselves, if we mitigate in that direction, impacting the crop production not only here in the United States, but worldwide. What you're seeing now, a lot of times many scientists know, especially at NASA and in other areas, that the skies that we're seeing are not normal cloud formations. These are man-made. In California, the State Department of Health drinking water tests were examined between 1970 and this year, and we found unusual spiking in barium, aluminum, strontium, manganese, and all of these spiked at the same time in various drinking water supplies across the state of California and also in Arizona. So what's happening with these atmospheric tests is that aluminum, as one example, gets into the root systems of our trees, and it looks like the trees are dying of drought, but they're not. Many of our forests in Redding, California and other areas are dying from warmer temperatures produced by persistent jet contrails, also impacting tree health and crop health. They know from scientific studies back in the 1970s that they deplete beneficial ozone in the atmosphere by releasing nitric acid.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States, but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide. This is poison. This is murder by the United Nations. This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I personally have observed the planes in Lincoln, Nebraska at the Air National Guard. They have no markings on them. They're huge, bomber-like airplanes with no markings. This is a crime. Crime against humanity, crime against America, crime against the citizens of this great country. What is wrong with Congress? This has an effect on their population and their people and their friends and their relatives and themselves. What's wrong with the pilots who are flying these airplanes? They're dumping this crap, this poison, on their own families. Somebody in Congress has to step forward and stop it now. Thank you. I'm Ted Gunderson.
I conducted air sampling, I conducted soil sampling, and I was getting high levels of these contaminants. When I started asking the question again under a new commander, I never in my life thought I would have somebody look me in the face and tell me, "Is there something wrong with you? You've been looking really depressed lately. You know I can put you under a mental evaluation for up to 120 days. Who would take care of your daughter?" Because I was divorced at the time. As soon as I heard that, I knew. It validated everything I ever thought. And I thought, I've spent 9 years of my life trying to protect human health, and here we are violating law after law after law. Just sitting here, instead of protecting the people, we are poisoning the people. And you ask yourself, if this is true and we are spraying the people, where are the pilots? Where are the people? I don't know if you pay attention, but look at Snowden. Look at Manning. People don't come forward because these supposed Whistleblower Act protections that you have are not enforced, they're not supported, and they really don't exist. Geoengineering is occurring, it's been occurring, it is not new, and your tax dollars are funding this. So it is unethical every day for all the other people that are out there that work in preventive health, or even physicians that aren't speaking about this. They need to. The biggest hurdle that we have is disinformation sites. I never say them, but I'm going to today, so that you know if anyone ever gives these to you as a reference to debunk you, it's Metabunk and Contrail Science. Those are two websites that are ran by a government shill named Mick West. He is a computer gaming programmer who tries to tell you about persistent contrails. So somebody who isn't even credentialed in chemistry or physics or ecology, none of that, is trying to tell you that you're crazy. You have to understand that I have met people who used to be purposeful disinformation trolls, as we call them. These people are paid to get you on board to believe a website or an article. So I just want everyone to know and understand that of all things, of all the freedoms that we are losing, geoengineering is the #1 issue that we are facing. Because you can have guns and money and you can have everything. If you don't have food and water and you are dying of respiratory or neurological illnesses, what does it matter? So you've heard about vaccines and you'll hear, about smart meters and you'll hear about other issues. These are all systemic effects. We are getting overexposed to toxins. People will tell you fluoride's in the water, but it's not a lot. It is a lot because you're getting it everywhere in your food, water that you drink, and you're getting it in your vaccines. Our bodies cannot metabolize these toxins.
Thank you to the warriors that are still watching this. It truly breaks my heart what is happening. But I want to go to live satellite where I believe they are spraying these toxins at this moment. Thank you for standing by. This is 5 hours and 57 minutes ago over the Wisconsin and Lake Michigan of the United States. Very distinct trailing, as I showed in my previous video this morning. We just seen horrible videos of their spraying toxins. I can show you where the where the U.S. Air Force stated they can spray with just 3 aircraft and kill a state's population down by 50%. I want to show you that video next. But this is very heavy chemtrailing this morning. If you want to see that information, here's another area of heavy chemtrailing. You can go back to my previous video on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter. But heavy chemtrailing this morning. In Kentucky. Heavy chemtrail operation, very tight in Kentucky this morning. And also, sorry about that. Also Michigan from Wisconsin this morning was very heavy. Very distinct operation at daybreak. I go in much more detail on my previous video. But let's watch the Air Force talk about how they can spray us with biological weapons and with a smile. They have no problem messing with us. Stand by. Here we go. Here's the video.
At the U.S. Army Chemical Corps Proving Ground, tests were conducted using an F-100 aircraft equipped with an experimental spray device developed by one of the large aviation companies. One purpose of these tests was to establish the feasibility of producing BW aerosols in the most effective particle size range as a low-level line source from high-speed aircraft. Wind tunnel tests had shown that effective aerosols could be produced by discharging the BW agent into a high-velocity airstream. To confirm the wind tunnel test data, an aerial mission was conducted using a BW incapacitating agent. Flying at subsonic speed, the F-100 disseminated the liquid agent along a 15-mile line upwind of the test grid. Data from these tests were used to determine the effective coverage that could be expected with an operational type spray system employing the basic principles of the experimental device. This study showed that one fighter aircraft flying on the deck and dispensing 2 wing tanks of a liquid BW agent would cause infection in more than 50% of the populace in an area 125 miles long by 30 miles deep. 3 large aircraft could release sufficient agent to infect over 50% of the people in an area equivalent to a belt 140 miles wide, extending from New York to Chicago, comparable to the total area of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana.
That's truly terrifying that they use in the United States to pretend to be spraying here. Stand by, I want to show you some more. Very important evidence of the military spraying the population. Very important information.
This next story is so unbelievable, we didn't think it could possibly be true. But after receiving thousands of records and declassified reports from the Army, it's confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis.
Lisa Martino-Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack.
Clearly, they went to great lengths to deceive people.
By making hundreds of Freedom of Information Act requests, she uncovered once classified documents that confirmed the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide.
The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12.
Martino-Taylor claims they all unknowingly inhaled this compound morning, noon, and night, so the government could measure its effects on their lungs.
So this was in violation of all medical ethics, all international codes, and the military's own policy at that time.
And Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez has once again accused the United States of playing God. This time it's Haiti's disastrous earthquake that he thinks the U.S. was behind. Spanish newspaper ABC quotes Chavez as saying that the U.S. Navy launched a weapon capable of inducing a powerful earthquake off the shore of Haiti. He adds that this time it was only a drill, and the final target is destroying and taking over Iran.
A wild accusation from Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He says Western countries are causing drought in certain parts of the world, including Iran. He says they're using high-tech equipment to drain raindrops from clouds. He basically says European countries are stealing rain from Iran for their own use.
You know,
Anybody notice the chemtrail photos behind his head? This is the scientist talking about controlling the weather. I just released this video. It's from these people here. They did a great job. This is the video I share so much. I share it a lot because it's so important. Thank you, warriors. We must put an end to this somehow. I know we're not. We're just mice fighting an elephant. But God, that elephant is terrified of us, or he wouldn't be silencing us. Look at the frequency waves over the mountains of Virginia. This is a machine turned on. The machine is running. Last 12 hours. Let's go live. Let's see what's happening. Endless amount of material that's coming from here. Put it in loop the last 2 hours. There's only a couple people standing by, but I appreciate y'all. The relentless smoking of Texas, relentless storms. Everybody stay safe. We're under attack. 2024 is the year of the storms, like I stated in January. Heavy frequency waves over Mexico right this minute, pushing that material towards you. Look at the last 2 hours. Just keeping that rotation going. Non-stop rotation. Very distinct waves from the machine. Just the last 2 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very distinct lines. Just heavier parts of the energy, I guess. Looks like chemtrails there. To me, it always stands out a little lighter in color. Aluminum shines the light. Look at the chemtrail ships. It's just constantly in the Pacific. Last 2 hours was put it into motion. They don't really go anywhere in 2 hours, or ships. Barely moving. Thank you again to the warriors, and thank you for the donations. A lady told me she don't have much money, but she gave me $20, and she don't know how much that helps. Truly helps me. I gotta pay my insurance. I just saved my girlfriend's house for her daughter. I paid 1 year's back taxes just so she don't lose the house immediately. They sent paperwork literally a week later after her mom died. I only tell the warriors this that cares. I hope y'all care about me as much as I care about y'all. Your prayers are heard. Very much so. Dozens of ships out here spraying us. It's a whole nother video on its own, isn't it? I wonder how long they've been out here. Let's go back 12 hours. Might only be one person listening to me, but let me know who's still listening at 23 minutes, if anybody's still there. Just to make sure I'm not doing all this in vain, which is trying to save the planet. Nothing's in vain. I don't care if anybody's listening or not, I'm doing my job. Heavy chemtrailing in the Pacific Ocean, and chemtrail vessels putting it out. Let them zigzagging. No real course there, is it? Commercial fishermen standing by, watching the poisoning of our entire garden. Erratic course changes from the ship. Might make an extra video. This ship's pumping out. I've showed pictures of over and over again. Commercial fishermen standing by. Y'all have a good day, good night, good morning, and good evening. We're all on different timelines. It is 11:32 a.m. Standing by.